Hello and welcome to our webinar. My name is Fiona Hood and I'm the Brand Marketect at Image 7. The topic for our webinar today is what are the best tools to market your school? Let me introduce the presenters and we'll get the webinar started. Our first presenter is Brad, the guy on the left, Image 7's founder and managing director. And our second presenter is Andrew Scully-Sculthorpe on the right, who is our business director. If you listen to our fortnightly podcast, you'll know their voices very well. So guys, let's begin the webinar.
Thanks, Fiona. And it's Brad here, and thanks for joining us for the webinar today. Just really quickly, a really quick overview of Image 7. That's where we live, so all around Australia and in the UK and Ireland. 24 years in schools and a team of 23, and our main service hub is located conveniently in the middle of the time zones, so that works well for all of our clients. So today's goal is all about how to effectively choose and use the best tools to achieve your marketing objectives. Now, I've got to say here right up front, today's goal is not to necessarily point out individual software or digital tools. It's far too that's a far too personalised choice that needs to be made for your school. So this is more about how do you overcome that conundrum about what to choose and how to, more importantly, make everything integrate. And really, this marketing conundrum has come because of the rise of digital. 15 years ago, maybe a little bit more now, digital wasn't having that big an effect. But the rise of digital has absolutely, definitively changed buyer behaviour, and it's also fragmented media channels. And that changes the landscape entirely. So unless you started in school marketing probably within the last decade, you will have seen that change. And if you haven't changed with it, then you're missing the boat. But what we recognise here is that school marketers are at a disadvantage, mostly because schools are not marketing organisations, they're educational organisations. And many who are charged with the responsibility of school marketing, which includes school heads, they're not marketers. That's not their professional background. Also, again, because of the nature of schools, marketing is often happening in schools in isolation. Most larger firms, or even firms the size of a mid-sized school, would have a marketing team. It's got to be quite a big school before you have a marketing team in Australia and the UK. So the marketing people often feel isolated from each other. Digital integration, we mentioned that a little while ago. The simple fact is that it's it's happening really, really quickly. And while you're doing the day job, it's a bit hard to be across all of the possibilities and where they could lead you. And of course, there's always the budget, isn't there? There is always the budget, Scully. But we get that schools' marketing budgets are always limited and always stretched, and that's something that we've just learnt to live within. And so recognising that, it could all sound a bit down, but here are a few facts to maybe even make you feel a little bit more down before we start. I'll make you down. I'll hand you over to Scully to make you to lift you up again. But these are some recent stats from studies. 21% of marketers are saying that their skills are now obsolete. Now, I mean, could you imagine that if your 21% of your teachers said that their skills were obsolete? That would be an outrage, and parents just wouldn't stand for it. Nearly every marketer sees the dramatic increase in the breadth of marketing skills that are needed, so they're not just accepting what's there anymore. 97%, again, nearly everybody, are doing things that they've never done before. We're all learning. We're all trying things for the first time. So it's not just you. Everybody's in the same boat. And nearly half of organisations can't find marketing candidates with the right skills. It's just getting, as the breadth gets wider, it's getting really hard to find the right people. Or, quite literally, as we know with most schools, is that the breadth of skills needed can't be found in one person. And if the budget only allows for one person, you've got a conundrum. And so they're the sorts of things that we're facing. No school is exempt from this, and it doesn't matter how big and how small. And quite literally, Image 7 works with some of the biggest and some of the smallest schools in the country. But the pace of change is impossible to keep up with. And we don't use the word impossible lightly. It is actually impossible. The literal rate of change in new software as a service, new things that can be done with data are making it impossible to be at the cutting edge of marketing. So today is really about how to find your niche in the in the marketing and digital technology space, and how to make wise decisions. William Gibson is an author, science fiction author, but he said the future is already here. It's just not very evenly distributed. And that is so true. There is all of these tools that we hear and we read about the big marketers using very successfully. And, we know that in schools we're just not even anywhere near that. So for schools, we're just the unevenly distributed part of the marketplace. The thing about William Gibson made this observation in 1993, so a good few years ago, and it was already like that. It's just got bigger. Scully, I've given everybody depression. Now it's your turn to pick them up.
Look, don't be down, because thankfully some enormous organisations have spent many years and an inordinate, terrifying amount of money making mistakes so that we can now benefit from them, because
absolutely
the digital economy is open. It is there for us all to benefit from, to capitalise on. So don't stress. The hard thing is to know what to pick, of course. But the solutions, they are there, they exist, and they can save you so much time. They give you the ability to measure. Gosh, they can measure anything within an inch of its life, in fact. They're often surprisingly cheap, but you can also disappear down a rabbit hole and think, gosh, she's not doing what I wanted after all. And certainly they can make you look smart. In fact, they make you smart without a shadow of a doubt, because you will be so well informed about what is going on in your marketplace. So it is actually exciting if you can get your head around it. But before you do anything, take a deep breath and make a plan. So before we even get into the world of tools, as we're talking about, as we're calling them, what is right for your school? What do you need the most? Is it internal communications, community engagement within the local suburbs? Is it you've got to get a better digital online strategy and communication plan? Do you need more enrollments, more leads? Look, there's all sorts of things. So make a plan as to the main priorities that you need, and then when you know that, that's when you dip your toe in the market. Now, you wouldn't build a house or a school for that matter and on shaky ground, and we're very, very much so. Your entire sort of digital strategy and all these tools that are available, you need to build them on a very solid, sound platform, a good foundation. And so there are some real basic, big players, if you like, in this can really help you that, because integration of these tools is so important, rather than having all these different disparate groups out there not knowing quite what they're doing and not talking to one another, importantly. So work out very often, very, very often, lead management. Think enrollments we're talking about here. The prospect nurturing, that's about converting someone that once upon a time may have looked on a website or may have contacted the school, nurturing them all the way through to becoming a part of the community.
The definition of a lead in schools now is so much broader than it has been in the past.
Yeah, completely. But the opportunity to engage families very, very early It has never been greater. So if you call them a lead, call them whatever you want, prospect, family, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's about managing that family, and so that they just want to belong to your community. And that, of course, involves managing your existing community and communicating well with them as well. Now, we will use the phrase funnel. That's a great big sales term about pouring people in and they come out the bottom as an actual customer. The bottom line is that's some of the automation talk, but they work and they can massively improve the efficiency of your marketing efforts. So here it goes. Marketing automation, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the downright confusing. But in the middle of all that, there'll be so many wonderful solutions for you.
So let's look at some of those solutions. First up, websites.
You know what? You can't build a house, you might have heard me say this before, both of us, on rented land, because you can get in all sorts of trouble. So whatever you do, you must, there's all sorts of great things, including social media, where you can share your voice, share share what you've got to say, but drive people back to your website. Your website is so important, absolute foundational building block of your digital strategy.
It's the only digital platform that you own 100% and you control, and you will have decision-making rights over its destiny.
And there are some terrible ones out there, and there are some really, really good ones out there as well. So work out, is it, the very basics, is it responsive? More and more people are reading on their phones now, maybe on a tablet. Make sure it's responsive. The platform it's on, does it matter? There's lots of questions you need to ask, and I'm happy to talk in much more depth offline about any of those things if you like. But how do you build it? Okay, how do you build it? You can even do it yourself these days. It's actually not that hard, perhaps daunting the thought of it, and probably restrictive in what the site functionality can do thereafter. But you can do it yourself. Or do you employ experts and do all sorts of things, including e-commerce and all the rest? These are big decisions. There is a nice halfway option though now.
This is really exciting.
Yeah, it's the done for you option, as we've christened it. The done for you option enables you to work with an outsourced organization who will help you to create incredibly cost effectively a website, to do everything really you could ever need. And these options exist. So when we say tools, it's also looking for the right partners to help you create the best tool.
So imagine rethinking websites from the ground up, so that if you did it if you thought about it as something that has to be done, much like, say, the school cleaning. I don't know why I came up with that example, Scully, but would you get it, or would you get somebody in to do it for you? Tell them what to do and they get it done. That's what the done for you part of the option is. And it's really thinking about websites from a totally different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Another important thing though, from who are you going to serve with that website? Maybe you want two websites. Maybe you want an internal community serving portal and an out-facing super duper shop window, if you like. That website's important. Who you build it with, really important.
So now, knowing about what the competitors are doing. Now, Scully, before you go there, I have this conversation, I know you do too, but when we ask schools, who are your competitors, many of them go, well, actually, we really don't have any. We don't like to think of them as competitors. But really, they are. A student has to go to a school, they've got to make a choice. That means you're in a competitive situation.
And in the commercial world, knowledge is power. End of story with that. So why shouldn't you know what they're doing? In fact, you don't even need to track just the local competition. You can even look at best of breed schools all over the world and see how they're doing what they're doing. So there's some brilliant technology available now that lets you know exactly what you just feed in, if you like, the schools, the organizations that you want to look at and track what they're doing every time they make changes to their website, every time they're doing anything on the digital landscape differently. You can have you'll be notified. You'll receive those notifications whenever you want them, when you've asked to receive them. But it'll do cross-channel analysis. Even look over at social media, what's being said, and it's so informative. It'll help you in terms of policy making, in terms of, it can save you an awful lot of money. in terms of events, advertising, a great deal. So knowing what the others are up to is worth an awful lot, and there's some great stuff.
And this is just one example, not from schools, but from our industry. And this is an activity alert that popped into my email just a couple of weeks ago. And G2M Solutions is, well, they're not a competitor of ours, but they're somebody, we respect their work, and I look at them and I want to see what they're doing. But I just don't have time to keep going and constantly looking at all the individuals' websites that I want to. So I rely on this to tell me when something's changed. Now you can see there on the screen that they changed 2 words in their description about themselves on their website. And they've changed from being a marketing agency to being a marketing advisory firm. Now, if this hadn't alerted me, I wouldn't have known for weeks, months, maybe would I have known at all. But it was really interesting for me, and that's that marketplace intelligence, and you can see how applicable that would be when you are actually tracking who your competitors are directly.
That's right, repositioning the marketplace, really important to understand what's going on. Now, emails, look, love them or loathe them, they matter. They're still an incredibly powerful tool to talk to your community and beyond. And, we can't afford to be inefficient with those anymore. You need to have cut through, state-of-the-art stuff, and they need to be on brand. They need to have design templates that you don't have to reinvent every time you're on them. They need to be exactly as they should be, consistent. Importantly, they can work on any device. Now integrated within these systems, you're able to get pretty much idiot-proof. I'm talking about, not you, I hasten to add, idiot-proof newsletter templates to enable you to just send out these emails efficiently, incredibly cost-effectively, and then, importantly, get the analytics to measure who's opening, who's looking, who isn't. So
and all this, and it looks good.
Yeah,
it looks great. It does good things for your brand.
Now, emails and so much more are useless unless your data is right. So get your data right, and also, getting your data wrong can not only irritate families and the recipient. You can actually get in trouble for spamming people. All the rest. It's a terrible thing to get a reputation for. So get your house in order in terms of managing that data. If you do, you can analyze it, see who's doing what, and then make it that much more efficient in how often you're sending them out. And it's so important because sometimes too much is going out, sometimes not enough. So you want to communicate all the way down the process, all the way from the first interaction with a prospective parent, all the way through to a Year 12 student and even alumni. Manage your data. There are some wonderful tools to help you do that.
This is one I love, Scully.
Doesn't it? This is a great tool, and it's really, really practical. So basically, you can input basically a spreadsheet of your whole data of your whole school, or of your Year 7s, or of your kindy children, whatever it may be, and it will show you, map them basically down to their house. You can look at them, but importantly, that might be a bit voyeuristic, but it's really can help you work out where perhaps you want to lay on buses, where you have parts of a suburbs or towns that just why people aren't coming from there. You can map this even on a global basis if you've got borders. But it's a fantastic tool. Once upon a time would have cost thousands and thousands and thousands. Now it's really accessible and can really be very practical use on every day of running a school, but importantly marketing to sectors where you have been successful and where you haven't been successful.
And we've certainly been in situations where we've used this with clients and their schools, and we've put the data up on the screen and then started to slice and dice it and manipulate it, and real insights that have been immediately useful have come out of that. So it's not all fairy floss. It does look nice. It looks wonderful. And it's so engaging, but it's engaging because you can look at it and you can learn so much. Really useful stuff. CRMs, they've been around forever, Scully.
Yeah, that's customer relationship management. if you haven't fallen asleep while I said those 3 words, but they're really important, and of course they need to integrate with that database management I was talking about. You need to be able to track who's looking at your website, who's looking at the content you're creating, whether it be the video, whether it be the school newsletter, the blog, and then of course input information about these people, where they are now. Guarantee at some stage things are being tracked. Probably who knows if it's old filing systems or whatever, but now the tools electronically are sensational, and they can integrate so you can quickly manage those emails we're talking about, quickly segment your data, and really improve the whole marketing story and efficiency.
And one of the interesting things for me is it's about changing mindsets. And when we say CRM, one of the reasons that lots of people immediately glaze over on their eyes is that every interaction with a CRM means you are putting data in, or you're fighting it to get data out. Not anymore. That's the old world. The new world is where it can be automatically collecting data for you and populating. It's really incredible when you see some of the tools in action, and they're integrated with your own data. Media monitoring?
Yeah, well, this is great. Once upon a time, newspaper clippings used to tell you what was going on. If someone had spent ages cutting them out, now you're able to get it sent to your desktop, your laptop, whatever you want. You can have everything that's been said in the day in the newspapers, on the radio, on the TV, even what's been said on social media, on Facebook, LinkedIn. Brilliant tool. Again, not terrifyingly expensive as it once upon a time was, and you can track it locally, nationally, all over the world. Really, really, really important if you're going to take your marketing seriously.
But certainly one of the things that we've found, and we know through just pure experience, is not all media monitoring is created equal. So that's just one heads up there. And to your old stomping ground, Scully,
yep.
Advertising.
Where in the past you probably spent...
Go on, reveal the secrets.
...disproportionate amount of money and certainly time. Now, how do you be efficient at that? You're probably... How do you not waste lots of time doing the research, finding how much it costs, finding the different options, how to reach such and such an audience? How do I really get the insights that in the past only the top media planner buyers could have had? Well, they exist now. You can access them and get the rates that only the very, very best or biggest players ever could access with that buying clout. So with some planning and some searching, it is achievable, and very happy to talk about that more offline even.
Finding a friend or a mentor, Scully. This is so important, because we do know that this is across the board, not just in schools, but one of the primary indicators of people feeling fulfilled in their work is to have a friend/mentor.
Yes, and isn't it probably tragic in schools? You're the only marketer or a small department surrounded by wonderful but educators who just think perhaps differently and certainly don't understand some of the pressures that you're under. And I think it's so important you can source now. You're able to source, and we're not talking the competition down the road. People that you can share information with about that open day, about the yearbook you're producing, really practical day-to-day stuff, or even the selection of various tools. What do I do with my CRM? If you can find a mentor, a friend to talk to with similar experience, can save you hours and actually hugely boost your morale for that matter as well. So help you really prioritize what you're doing. There are ways to find them now. There are ways to work either in forums or individually. Really worth looking into.
Indeed. Just thinking, Scully, we know lots of people. If you're stuck, if you don't know somebody that can be your friend or mentor, give us a call. We might be able to find the right people.
Yeah, we've got clients all over the world actually, but all over Australia for sure. And there'll be no competition to you, and we can bring you together to talk.
Now, the 3 Ps. I just jumped forward there. Virtual drum roll, because Scully has come up with another of his 3 points, all beautifully starting this time with the letter P.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is brought to you by the letter P and the number 3.
This cunning ruse. Yes, indeed. So first of all, prioritise. really, it's so important because there is a plethora, how many more peas can I churn out? Anyway, so many options out there. So work out what it is you need so you don't get disappear down.
So don't look at the software first. Look at what you need first.
What do you need to be done? What do you need to achieve? What are your priorities?
What are you going to get measured by?
Yeah, your KPIs, and then work them out because there'll be tools to help you achieve them.
But then showing off your use of English.
Isn't that a good word? Peruse. I've been perusing your wares for some time. Well, you could peruse wares online forever, and this can be time consuming. That's why you needed to do the prioritizing in the first place. Work out what you need to achieve. Swap notes with people, or if you can, but dig deep and really look into the best tools out there to help you. It'll help you learn. You'll grow so much, understanding that much more about marketing and what's available, and then hugely improve your own marketing. Then finally, the fun bit: you get to pick. You get to pick and pay for what you're getting. But the important thing is, don't you obviously you can't blow the budget. You've got to stay within the budget. But once you've done that, then the learning and then the implementation execution will reap their benefits hugely. Not only make you look smart, the whole process will have helped you get smart and really save so much time, be much more efficient, and just be more effective.
And indeed, Scully, a case study which we did feature a couple of months back on the SMC podcast in Switzerland.
Yes, brillamment. I think that's how they say it, but I couldn't swear. Anyway, it's in Lausanne. I can tell you when we talked about it because it was about the time of the FIFA scandal.
That's right.
Anyway, it's in Lausanne in Switzerland. Now, they rely entirely on international students. So they're not just going on the local press saying, come to our open day, this is a fantastic school. They've got to reach out globally. And they work together with this organisation called Versio 2, develop, in this case, an inbound marketing strategy. Now, that needed all sorts of tools to integrate to be able to get some reach and be efficient. Otherwise, they could it's needle in a haystack time. So they needed to increase their reach and their visibility on social media, bring more visitors to their website, and then ultimately to the school, of course, and enroll the best candidates in the day and boarding school. We're talking fees. Now, we're talking fees in Switzerland, believe me. So, but these could come from all over the world. So they had to have a very refined set of tools to bring their marketing strategy to life. And they did it. The website traffic doubled in the first 4 months.
Which I've got to say, that's quick for an inbound marketing strategy. That's very quick.
It is. It was. That's extraordinary. Actually, it often takes some time to build some momentum. Obviously, they were doing great stuff. It worked quickly. The traffic increased very, very quickly, 85%, and that social media weaved its magic, and they were able to track it. It's one thing bunging it out there, hoping things are happening, but because of the tools they had, they were able to track it and then convert these this interest from the browsers and the snoopers into hardcore leads. So the local community became more engaged, and their global community, literally in their case, sensationally more engaged, and they get 12 times as many leads per month compared to the previous year. Now that is a startling statistic, and without all the tools being integrated together, which doesn't need to be rocket science. The big guys have spent a decade or more spending a fortune, and now the tools exist that we can dip into. So, inbound marketing, fantastic, and one of the very, very great ways that you can harness the best of technology.
So, Scully, I can rapidly see us coming up to our time limit, and we want to leave some room for questions. So, very quickly, some resources for our attendees today. Of course, this webinar recording will be available within the next couple of days. You'll be able to go back and review it. There is ebooks on our website for you that can be useful. How inbound marketing can grow your school. We've just been talking about that. There's also a webinar about inbound marketing, so that's worthwhile if that's a topic of interest to you. Message architecture, how to actually make that scaffolding of your messaging that is going to build your school brand. and the brand protection program and how that can work for your school's reputation. All of those, and even some more actually, are at image7.com.au/SMC for school marketing and communications webinar resources. So SMC webinar resources. Of course, you can talk to Andrew offline, talk to the man himself. So image7.com.au/consult-SMC, consult-SMC, and you can schedule in a meeting there. And resources that you can free, grab them every day. There's the SMC e-newsletter. All you need to do is subscribe. The blog, similarly. The podcast, if you want to hear more of us, I'm not sure why you would, of course, but no, every fortnight we get to talk about what's moving in the world of marketing and how it relates specifically to school marketing and communications. And we have a bit of fun too, but always keep it under half an hour. And there's more webinars, all at image7.com.au/SMC webinar resources. So at this point, we'll throw back to Fiona and just see if there's any questions on the line.
Thanks, guys. I do have a couple of questions, Brad. The first one is from Glenn, and he says, what size budget would I need to get all of the tools that you've talked about?
Scully and I are looking at each other, so I'll throw to Scully.
Yeah, well, that's a classic kind of how long's a piece of string, unfortunately. But you'd be pleasantly surprised, I would suggest. What's happening more and more, instead of spending an awful lot of money up front for to own a piece of software or whatever it may be,
which you're not sure is actually going to do the job for you.
Exactly, and things change. Things change. So the subscription model is becoming increasingly popular. So the ability to subscribe to something on a monthly basis, and that enables you, therefore, to keep up to date with what's happening too, because things evolve. And if you just subscribe to them rather than the emphasis is on the service provider to update and upgrade. So how long's a piece of string? It depends what you're after. It can, of course, be many thousands, but it can, of course, be just a few hundred. Depends what you're after. But always try, I would suggest, instead of dumping a lot of money up front, look at a subscription model, because it'll enable you to keep a little bit more power and also not to spend as much money.
And I think I hope it hasn't been the hidden message in today's webinar, is that the tools need to integrate. If they don't integrate, you're missing out on a great force multiplier. So when they can tie in and integrate, and frankly, that's the really hard part of it. It's not all about being super techie. It's just knowing about how to get the data to move from one to the other. So I hope that's answered that question.
Thanks, guys. The second question's from John, and I think you've actually answered it, so hopefully we have, John. But the question was, are these services usually one-off purchases or monthly payments? And you've answered it there, Scully, saying,
Well, it often depends what suits your own budget, and sometimes it may suit you to spend the money at the end of a calendar year or whatever. But I would suggest that subscription idea works better, and also means that either you can cancel that subscription, heaven forbid, or you could, or they upgrade and look for the next best of breed, so that you're not having to constantly look for the next best thing.
Thanks, Scully. A question from Claire. Don't these services get out of date quickly? How does anyone keep up to date with the changes?
Yes, and that traditionally has been the problem. But as Scully has been saying, essentially with the new breed and where digital is taking most service provision now, not all of it, but most of it now, is in this software as a service realm. So even Microsoft and Adobe, which you're probably quite familiar with, are going that road where you're paying a monthly subscription and you just get access to all of their services. Well, with the sorts of things that we're talking here, it's most of the good operators are in that same space. So the beauty of that is that you actually don't have to think about upgrades and whether something's going to be out of date. The firm that's providing the software as a service, it just updates in the background, and most of them indeed, are web-based. So it's not like you even have to have anything installed on your machine. It's just opening up the browser and using the service.
Thanks, Brad. And the next question is from Edward. You mentioned competitor Intel through cross-channel checking. Which tool would you recommend?
Okay, there is a number, but one that we have used, and in fact it was I'm pretty sure. Yes, in fact it was
the still of your own screen.
That's one called Rival IQ. So certainly worth going have a look at them. Top of my head, rivaliq.com.
Great. Thanks, Brad. That's all the questions we've got for today. So thank you everyone for joining us. If you do have any more questions that you might think about later in the day, feel free to either give us a call. The number here is 089 221 9777, or send us an email. The email address is smc@image7.com.au. So thanks for joining us. I hope you found the webinar useful. We do have another webinar coming up early in the new year on the 17th of February. The topic for that is how to differentiate your school from the competition. So look out for the details coming through on your email, or you can go to image7.com.au/SMC webinar and register for that webinar. So as we said, we will send out the recording to you by the end of the week, so watch out for that in your inbox. Thanks everyone, and bye for now.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.